Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, Big V here, Verl Workman here with Workman Success Systems, and I am fired up and excited to share with you how to win more deals, how to win more appointments, close more transactions, overcome objections, resolve concerns, and move the sale process along. And I'm even more excited that I've got a phenomenal guest with us today, and I'm going to introduce Mark here in just a minute. For those of you that are just joining us, a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, thank you for being here. I appreciate you blocking time. This is a busy day of webinars. There's another webinar following this one with Riz Media, and I hope that you'll find time to, if you've got enough time blocked in your day, to be able to join us on that one. That webinar is going to be about creating your unfair competitive advantage, and we also have a couple of great guests that will be joining us on that webinar. I want you to, if you have questions, as we're going through and we're talking to Mark, Mark is a sales master. Now, he does a lot of business and he does a lot of great things, but what I love most about Mark is we're cut from the same cloth. We love sales. We love the sales process. We love helping people, and we love practicing the things that will get us the result that we want. And so if you have an objection or you have something that you come across on a regular basis in your business, type it in the questions section. I'm going to be monitoring questions, and when we get to appropriate times in the break, we'll tee it up and we'll let the master show us what he does. The other thing is there's a lot of content, there's a lot of information that's going to be shared during this webinar today. At the end, I'm going to give you a landing page with some free downloads that will help you with a lot of the scripts and the dialogues and the things that we talk about today. So stay on to the end, and I'll give you that landing page. You'll be able to jump in and download that as well. So Mark, you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah, I know you're ready. Let me just tell everybody who you are. Besides being one of our coaching clients, Mark is also one of our Workman Success System coaches, and he does a great job helping a lot of people grow. He says he was born to become a real estate leader and a professional coach. He graduated from Cornell with a postgraduate credentials from the University of Cal Berkeley. He began his career in 1993 at Seiden Real Estate in Westchester County, New York, and that was the agency's top agent until it was sold in the late 90s. Mark continued to grow by earning a position as the #1 agent for all of Westchester County at Coldwell Banker Brokerage for 6 consecutive years, all the way through the mid-2000s. In 2003, he founded the Mark J. Seiden Real Estate, Inc., and rebranded it the Mark Seiden Real Estate Team in 2008. For the last 10 years, Mark's been ranked in the top 3 agents for single-family homes in all of Westchester and Putnam counties, over 8,500 agents, ranking #1 in both in multiple years during that time frame. As a natural mentor and a gifted communicator, Mark and his work have been featured in articles in the New York Times, the New York Post, Real Estate in Depth, Westchester Magazine, and a whole bunch of other publications. And that's all great bio stuff. Let me tell you about Mark. Mark kicks butt. He recognizes when there's a problem, and he's the first guy to step in and solve the problem. And it doesn't matter whether it's a team related, a family related, or somebody that he's taking care of. And it's an honor and a privilege to consider Mark a friend. Mark, thank you for being here today. Let's have a little bit of fun with some dialogues.
Wow, that was the best introduction I think I've ever had. My head is so big right now, I think it's going through the roof here. Thank you, Verl.
Yeah, well, it's all true, man. I love you, brother, and I love what you do for our clients. And it's fun watching you develop as a leader and a mentor to many.
No, thank you.
So, Mark, jump in, man. It's all you. I'll just ask questions as we go. Talk about the show.
Okay, so we always say the show must go on, and here's where we come from with that. As a real estate agent, when you are talking to consumers, and that's what everybody is. Everybody's a consumer, whether they're a buyer, whether they're a seller, whether they're thinking about referring business to you, whatever it may be, the lender, an electrician, everybody's a consumer, which means you always must be on. And what we always say as a real estate agent is that you are just like an actor playing a part. And when you're an actor playing a part, this is the scenario that I want you to understand. If you are a Broadway star in New York City and you've been doing the same part for 3 years, and during the 3 years you do that part, let's say 7 times a week, and you've been doing it for 50 weeks a year, and you've been doing it for 3 straight years. So you probably know your scripts backwards and forwards. But are you allowed to have a bad day? And what we mean by having a bad day is this. If a consumer is buying a ticket to a Broadway show, they're going to be probably spending upwards towards $200 or more per ticket, and most people go as a couple at least. So now you're talking about a $400 night. And if you're going to Broadway and it's a $400 night, it's not going to stop there. You're probably going to have dinner before or after because it's an event. So now you can add in New York City another couple $100 to that at least. And then you try to park in New York City? You think you're doing that for $10? I don't think so. That could be $50, $75 just to park for that night. So by the time you finish adding all this stuff, when a consumer is going to a Broadway theater play, they're into this for at least $750 to possibly even close to $1,000 because sometimes people buy new clothes to go to New York City. So now you have these people who are going into this theater, into this for $750 to $1,000 a night, and they're sitting in those 2 seats, and they want to see this play. Can you have a bad day?
No
if you were
way.
an actor in that show, and you went on an audition, and you didn't get the new part, listing presentation, you didn't get the listing, right? You had a bad day, the computer crashed, your cat's sick, whatever like that. Are you allowed not to be 100% in that performance? Because if you're not 100% in that performance, what happens? I'll tell you what happens. There's a bad review, and everything's on social media. It's a really bad review. And who does that bad review affect? Just you? Or everybody else on your team? All the other actors? What happens if the show gets such a bad review, people stop to come and the show closes? What about all those other people? Are they out of a job? You can't have a bad day. It's a show, and the show must always go on.
I love that, Mark. I've never actually thought of it that way. You know, we have to get up and put our game face on. The client doesn't need to know that you've had crap going on at home. Everybody has a story and everybody has issues. But when it's game time, when we get in our car and we're headed to the office, it's time to leave all that stuff at home and have a great day. I love that there's no bad days. I have never looked at it that way, and the show absolutely has to go on.
Absolutely. So, SWAT. So again, would you choose someone who overanalyzes or someone who can make a snap decision? So, you know, I always tell people that the SWAT team member it's just like being on a SWAT team. If you're in the military, if you're on a police force, you have to make some very, very strong and fast decisions on your feet. I've met with some agents that they love to analyze because they don't want their clients and they don't want to make a mistake, but there's something called analysis and there's something called overanalysis. And, you know, we are really not sending people from NASA to the moon where if they're off 0.25% of trajectory, they don't end up in the moon, they end up somewhere around Mars. And I'm sure that's not 100% correct, but you know what I mean. But in real estate, what you really need to understand is you're doing the basics. This is people's home. You guys do this kind of every day, but help people make decisions, but help make people decisions quickly in a way where you do an analysis and you do things as visual as possible. And one of the things that I really encourage agents to do is, again, do things as visually as possible. Bring people to the office. Look at the computer at the same time and make sure that you guys are looking at the same data all the time. Verbal is not great. Visual is awesome. And when you do that, you can stop overanalyzing and you can help people make decisions. Now, you can't teach a wrong attitude, okay? Everything has to be positive. Everything has to look at, no matter what kind of market that you're in, you got to be positive. There's nothing wrong. You just got to show that's kind of right. And it's the same thing. No such thing as bad or good behavioral style. It must be the right fit. So for those people who might have been introduced to DISC, D-I-S-C, DISC, The D's, the I's, the S, and the C's, what I always tell people is that I am multilingual. The challenge with being multilingual the way I'm multilingual is I don't speak Spanish, Italian, Chinese. I don't speak anything like that. But I do speak D, I, S, and C. And those are very different kind of behavior styles and how consumers may look at things. You may have someone who's really into price per square foot. And then you have somebody else who's really looking into the aura and how the house makes them feel, and they don't care if it's 10 grand more or 10 grand less. And you need to learn to be multilingual, that to not have the consumer speak to you the way that you want to be spoken to, nay, but you need to learn how to speak to the way that they will absorb the information. And when you do that, when you become multilingual in DISC, oh my goodness, just let the commissions roll in.
So do you prefer some styles over others when you're looking at the DISC?
Well, I do, because obviously if someone is more like me, I'm a DIC. We already know what that spells, but that's really what I am. I'm a very high DIC. Sure, I can communicate much better with a high DIC than if I do that someone's just a pure high I with very little D. I kind of struggle with that sometimes, and what I've had to learn to do is talk less but listen more, because high I's love to talk. I love to give them a snap response and attempt to cut people off before they finish the sentence with the high I's, and I've had to learn not to do that. And I smile a lot, and I wink a lot, and I cock my head a lot, and it really works.
That's awesome. I love that you say there's no bad or good behavior style. You just have to change and adapt so it's comfortable for them, as opposed to having people adapt to be comfortable for you because they don't understand it.
Absolutely.
So let's get into some scripts. Let's start talking about some of the things you use and how you use them.
Okay, so this is my favorite script on the planet. It's called the attorney script. And here's where the attorney script really comes in. And this was developed because a lot of people think that most real estate agents are exactly the same. And why do people think that real estate agents are exactly the same? Well, because most people really have no idea what we do, number one. And number two is all they know from what we do is what they see on TV. And what does a real estate agent do on TV? Well, on TV, they're either a guy or a woman, and they're usually pretty much either drop dead gorgeous or really pretty pitifully ugly. There's nothing in the middle. And they're all holding either a really nice sharp briefcase or a purse or some sort of clipboard. And here's the typical real estate agent. Are you ready? Well, you know, this place has got new countertops and new appliances and new hardwood floors, and look at the light. Isn't that terrific? And you know what? You really better buy or rent this place, because if you're not, we have 7 people right after you. And you know what? I think someone's coming at 3 o'clock with a pen to sign. Are you taking it or not? Now, that's how most people see a real estate agent, because that's what's on every channel. The question is that really how we really all are? So we came up something with the attorney script, because a lot of people would say that, you know, listen, it's all in the MLS. What's the big difference if I give it to you or if I give it to somebody else? You can still sell it because it's on the MLS. So we came up with this big question right before we go into the attorney script. And here is the big question. And we have this both stated for a seller side and a buyer side. And obviously this one's for the buyer side. So here it is. Well, let me ask you a question, Verl. Do you think you're really going to buy your home for the exact same price, no matter which agent you select? Do you know what the biggest response is to that question? Drop dead silence.
Yeah, I'm thinking how I would respond to it. I go silent. I'm thinking, yes, no, maybe. I don't know. That's really how I felt. That's a great question.
That's the question, because most consumers never think about it. They're told that you really should interview agents. Okay, interview agents. What are you looking for? I have no idea, but I guess I'm supposed to interview agents because that's what the book and the internet tells me. So if you really just kind of ask them that question, it'll help direct them into, I guess not. And then when we ask that question and we get that big silence, the next thing that we actually go into is the attorney script. And here it is. Ready? So let me ask you a question that may seem odd, but I promise it has a purpose. Lawyers. Are all lawyers the same? Now, a lot of times people will go, no, or they'll just kind of give you that blank stare.
Of course not.
Right. I mean, the law is a law where it is the same for everyone, correct? I mean, the law is written somewhere in some set of books that all the judges and lawyers use, right? Correct? Well,
Yeah.
With that being said, does that mean all lawyers win the same number of cases? Do each and every one represent their clients and litigate in court? All the same. I mean, they all have the identical license, right? Now, sometimes I kind of go off topic here and I'll say, and I don't know if you know that, but did you know that divorce lawyers and mergers and acquisitions and corporate lawyers and litigation lawyers and any other kind of general practice lawyers and real estate lawyers, did you know that there's only one license? It's one license. There's no different licenses. It's one license. So does that mean every lawyer has the exact same talent and results?
Nope.
And then it goes into, well, isn't that the same for real estate agents too? They all have the same licenses too, right? And work with the same data. The lawyers work with the law, jurors, judges, and other lawyers. While real estate agents work with homes on the MLS, buyers, sellers, and other agents, correct? So does that mean all the agents are the same? Does that mean we have the same results in this market? And since I'm giving this, it has my name in there. If Mark and his team sold about 100 properties last year, and obviously you put your name and whatever your information is, while the average sold less than 5, and by the way, in our market, the average agent doesn't sell less than 5. Well, actually, they do. Do you know in our market, the average agent sells less than 2.2? While the average agent sold less than 5, do you think we research, strategically market, and evaluate and negotiate the same as, now fill in the blank, every other agent, the last agent you had, Joyce, from whatever company? Obviously, there really is a huge strategic and talent difference. Yes? Now, again, this is written for if someone's calling in by phone. There are many times I do this while I'm in person in a buyer or seller presentation. But on the phone, you say, and that's why you need to meet with me, or that's why you need to meet with Joyce, one of my buyer specialists, so we can show you how you will be able to buy in this market by agents who are actually helping buyers buy in this market. So I have a question. What day and time is best to meet? My best days are Wednesdays and Fridays in the afternoon, which is great for you. It is one of the best scripts on the planet because I've been using this script for, probably almost 15, 20 years. And then overall had the same thing. We just kind of meshed things together, which was really cool. And this is probably the only script I've had 100% people go, you're absolutely correct. Because most of the other scripts, you win most, you lose some, whatever like that. I have never had, and I mean never, and I never use the word never. Never use the word never. But I've never had anybody that said, this did not make sense. Every single one of them said, yeah, you're right. Powerful script. What do you think, Verl? Oh, I lost
I think it's off the chart.
Yeah, it's great. It's one of my favorite.
Well, it's so hard to get people to understand what your value proposition is, and they do lump us all in the same bucket. And
Yep.
Not all agents are created equal. I'm telling you that it's so true that there's such a huge difference between average and exceptional. And by the way, when you throw this script out there, it makes me think about Gallup polls that rates the value of agents about third from the bottom in respected industries. Real estate is so low. We aspire to be held in the same esteem as these attorneys.
Yeah, think about that. We want to be held as high as an attorney. Yeah. Yeah. Think about that.
I know.
And by the way,
and car sales, I mean, yeah, we don't even get to carry the bags of the car salespeople. They're 10 steps above realtors. So we really have an important mission to increase the value of the services we provide and help the consumer understand there really is a difference. And I know that those are the people that are on this call that are making the investment of time to be here are the ones that are investing in becoming better. And that's why I love that they're here.
And let me just give you a little ancillary on the attorney script, if I may, because the surgeon script is for the team, but for the attorney script, I will tell you that I have modified that attorney script based on the person that I'm speaking to. So if I'm speaking to a teacher, I'll modify it from the attorney script to a teacher script. And I'll say, look, I don't know everything about teachers, and I'm sure you guys do things a little differently, but I'll say, so let me ask you a question. You're working at school. Yes, great. Teachers. Are all teachers the same? I mean, you guys all teach and you have curriculum and your curriculum is kind of based on what happens in whatever state you're in. I'll say New York State, and I'll just kind of modify it. Doctors. Are all doctors the same? Car mechanics. I will come in as a car mechanic and say, look, I know you guys get some sort of training, whatever it is, certificate or whatever for car mechanics, so I have a question for you. Are all car mechanics the same? I mean, the engine's the engine. What the heck is the difference? So that's why the attorney script is so powerful. And and you know who loves the attorney script the most? Attorneys.
Absolutely. I was going to say that.
They love the attorney script because guess what they end up doing when they leave here? They use the attorney script when they're trying to get a client.
Absolutely. It's great dialogue.
Surgeon script. Okay, so for all of you that work on teams, whether you're an assistant, whether you run the team, a lot of times the consumers and even other real estate agents or a lot of real estate agents that are against you if you work on a team will badmouth, quote unquote, a team because even your competition really does not understand how a team works. So we came up with the surgeon script. So here's the surgeon script. So I'm going to use my name because I run a team. So what my agents say, and even what I say, or my listing partner says, Mark Seiden runs his team just as a very effective surgeon runs a highly skilled surgical team. I mean, in real life, or what you see on TV, when you see a surgeon in an operating room, is the surgeon in there alone? Aren't there always a team of highly skilled professionals with the surgeon, each person with a specific task and skill? Well, that's how it works on Mark's real estate team. Mark is the chief of surgery, in charge of the company, the marketing plans, the market research, and helps with all the negotiations. Mark's buyer specialists are his surgeons. They are the ones who go to all the properties, meets with the buyers, the patients, and presents and implements our plan. They have been with Mark for years and quite honestly have been inside more houses than even Mark has in the past 5 years. That is what Mark's buyer specialists do every day, as they do not work with sellers. They only work with Mark's buyers. This is their specialty, and they are really awesome working with Mark's buyers. So when you sign up with us, you get both a buyer specialist and Mark. Not one, but both. And then if we have to, we go into more and more and more about that. So what day and time is best to meet with you? Wednesday afternoons and Thursday mornings are best for me. What's best for you?
I love that. I use a variation of the script that works as well. And I just wonder what you feel like. What if you went into a doctor's office, Mark, and the surgeon greeted you at the counter? Yeah. And said, "Oh, can I get your billing information?" Yeah.
You'd actually think less of the surgeon, wouldn't you?
Well, I would probably run, and then the surgeon goes back in the back and puts your gown on you and gets you ready, and then says, "I'm going to have you go out," and he hooks up the anesthesia and then turns it on you, and then you're going to fall asleep. And you don't see anybody else in there helping him, and so the surgeon then straps on and does a surgery without somebody handing him the surgical knives and the scalpel and all that. I think that you would run away.
Oh yeah.
And, most environments, in professional environments, people have teams. Whether you go to the dentist's office or the doctor's office or you go into insurance office, I mean, very rarely do I talk to my insurance guy. I always talk to his assistant. I talk to the person who's doing the scheduling, that kind of thing. So I love the script, and it's so brilliant and simple.
Yeah, and we extrapolate it from all the time. I mean, we'll do a whole bunch of things. We'll say, look, understand people on the surgical team. These are highly skilled people. A highly skilled surgeon, the buyer's agent, would not work without highly skilled nursing. We're not talking about someone who, graduated from middle school and got his first job or something. These are highly skilled, highly trained, highly educated people in that surgical room. Because without great surgical nurses, guess what's happened to the patient? Yeah, they'll die. So when we talk about a surgical team in the real estate, everybody is very skilled and very important, because we have a lot of layers on our team. We have a listing specialist, we have buyer specialists, then we even have showing specialists, and then we have field services people. We have different levels and different layers, but they all do very specific functions. And a showing agent is a very high level person. That is nursing. Again, without great nursing, patients don't do well in a hospital. They may not be the doctor. They may not be chief of surgery. No nurses, really bad to deathly patient care. No really good skilled showing agent, there is no deal. That's how we describe our team.
There's a lot of people on this call that I'm sure are individual agents that don't work as a team. How do you flip that and sell it the other way?
Oh, there's lots of ways to do it. And say, look, it would be the same thing if you're running a general internist practice or you're running your own attorney practice. You just have to tell people how skilled you are. And you can say, look, I'm really good at surgery. I'm really good at kind of doing everything. So I'm kind of your nurse and your doctor, and I do everything. But I will always have time for you. So an agent can do well doing it on their own as long as they really have some, I call it technology systems behind them. And the way that an agent who's a one-person show can be really, really successful with this is, do not tell your clients you're available 24/7, and when you're there, when you need me, I'm there. Because you're over-promising and under-delivering, because you can't always be there when they need you. So if you give them some sort of guidelines and say, look, I'm a really successful real estate agent, and I will be there. But what I will let you know that if you don't hear from me, if you call me and I don't answer, which means agents don't always answer when the phone calls. When I don't answer, I will make you this promise. I return all my calls no later than 7:30 at night. Verl, why do you think I tell them 7:30 at night?
When you put the kids to bed, or that's when you know
right.
You'll be free.
What happens is I know I'm going to have all my calls done by 6 or 6:30 at night. So if I tell them I'm going to return calls by 7:30 at night, everybody's always returned by between 5:30 and 6:30. So if I tell them they'll be returned by 7:30 at night, and now I'm calling them at 6:15 to return the call, I'm a hero, aren't I?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
You're a pretty good sales guy. And, I think that there's people, in fact, I just got a comment from somebody on this call that says, this is making my head hurt.
I hope they mean that in a positive way. Should I turn down my volume?
So. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think what happened, I think what it is they don't understand the value of practicing scripts and dialogues. How much do you really practice? I mean, you're doing this, I'm asking you questions that aren't in the slide deck, and you're giving me responses. But how often do you practice scripts and dialogues, and why is it even important to you?
Anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week, literally per week. And it's twice a week because on our team here, we have role playing from 10 to 11 every Wednesday and Friday. And we had one today, and it's a tough script today because there's some scripts that are pretty black and white, like the attorney script. And the script that we're working on today is when someone calls and says, I'm really going to take a break, or I'm not going to buy now because the market's too tough for me and I'm not finding anything in my price range, or I keep getting outbid over and over and over, and that's it, I'm done, I'm quitting. So we did that role play today. We've been doing, actually not that role play today, we've been doing that role play for the last 1, 2, 3 weeks in a row. We may work on it for another 2 or 3 weeks, because with that role play, there could be 40 to 50 different objections that comes out of a buyer, and we kind of have to teach people how to segue between one and another. The attorney script, the surgeon script, I call it the commission-ectomy script, which is a script that, someone wants to cut my commission, by 0.5% during negotiation. Those scripts are actually really easier because they're black and white. There aren't too many other kinds of objections. So we do that twice a week. And there's sometimes I say third time a week is because we also have a staff meeting on Tuesdays between 10 and 12. And sometimes we're doing process and things like that. But occasionally we may do some scripts and dialogues, especially when we're doing exclusive right to represent agreements. We do it, or agency law. We're doing a lot of scripts and dialogues. If you don't do that every day, you won't succeed. And I'll give you one quick example of that.
Let me ask you a question before you go on.
Go ahead.
So how does practicing your scripts change the interaction you have with your clients?
Because first of all, it makes you a lot more comfortable with your response. It just does. But number two is I love role playing with more than one other person on the call. I think doing role playing for, let's say, an hour and having 4 or 5, sometimes 6 people on the call, and then you kind of all take turns, one being a buyer, one being an agent, next person's a buyer, agent, you will actually hear other people make objections because they're role playing. So when people are playing the buyer or playing the seller, they'll actually bring up things that they heard that they didn't know how to respond to, or just stuff that pop in their head. And it's really cool because some people have brought up objections, to be brutally honest, I never heard before. And I had to give a little pregnant pause, and then I gave hopefully a great script for it. So you have to practice. My cousin is an actor on Broadway, and actually he was in a show for many, many years. And the interesting thing is, no matter how many times they did his part, I think it was either once a week or once every 2 weeks for a half a day. Guess what they had to do? Rehearse.
Practice their scripts, yeah.
And this guy had been doing the same frickin' part for years, and yet they had to continue to rehearse. And baseball players do batting practice and fielding practice. I mean, every professional that's hot on their game, all they do all the time is rehearse. And it's one of the things that real estate agents do the least is rehearsing. And the more you rehearse, your head won't hurt. It'll be so easy. Not only will your head not hurt, you'll be so happy after you give that great objection handling technique because you role played it and you know that it worked. You'll feel so tall, you won't be able to get through a door.
So what do you say to the agent that's been with you, that's been in the business, say, 10 years, and they don't think they need to practice their scripts and dialogues anymore? They feel like, they already know what they're going to say.
Really? I love those agents because when they come at me like that, I'll hit them with about 8 objections and I'll sit there and watch. Because the answer is nobody knows everything. Nobody knows everything. And every time I think I know a script, I'll go to a seminar, I'll go to a marketing, I'll go to a conference, and I'll hear another great one, and it's awesome. The commission-ectomy script that we have. I was looking for one of those for 15 years. And when I heard that great one, it's awesome.
It's so true. Mark, how many houses will your team sell this year? Just give me a rough guess.
Yeah, about 100. And there's
that's a lot of houses.
Yeah, there's 3.5 of us.
Yeah, that's a lot of houses. So what are the challenges, or what are some of the barriers to scripting and dialoguing?
Well, the challenge is actually finding the time to do it and finding people to role play and making sure that the people actually get on the call to role play. Because the two things that agents love to blow off the most is prospecting and role play. There's always something else that comes up and role play. And I will tell you, the more that one role plays, the more that one hears, the better you'll just get. I mean, but the challenge is getting people to commit to it. And that's why you should really get people to commit to a certain day, a certain time, and it's religious. It's just as religious as if you have children and you got to be there to take your kid off the bus. That's how religious it is. Because I don't know many parents that would just say, well, I'll be there when I be there, and if I can't be there, I'm not there. Who cares if the kid's 4?
That's right. Do it.
You just do it. Yep.
And you create that culture of productivity and that habit of prospecting. I love it.
That's correct. Habit.
my, there it is. So let's talk about getting referrals. So before you move on, you brought up a script and then you didn't give anybody the dialogue for it. I think a lot of people are dealing that you talked about what you're role playing today. You were talking about clients who want to wait off and not buy right now because the market's too hot and they want to get out of the game. There's not going to be a download of this script, but tell me what you're saying. What's the response? I'll be the client, you be the agent. You know, Mark, look at, we've made 15 offers. We've made 15 offers, and you know, frankly, we're just tired. And so I think we're just going to take our hat out of the mix right now, and maybe we'll get back into it in spring.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question. I'm going to read from here, and then obviously, Verl, I'll have to extrapolate from what I have here. But so, Verl, let me ask you: is the reason for not purchasing now based on the fact that you're not seeing what you want to buy at the price you want to pay, or that you're just kind of being bid out of the price range that you're willing to pay?
No, I'm just getting bid out.
Right, you're getting bid out.
I mean,
okay.
We're submitting offers. We're writing offers.
Right. Okay, so let me put it to you this way. There truly are more buyers than sellers in this market. But doesn't that mean that there's a risk that the prices will actually go up even higher later than they are now, which would actually further decrease your buying power? I mean, less inventory, more buyers. Isn't this high school economics, where more demand and less inventory means rising prices? So wouldn't you rather pay less for something now, even though it's higher than what you wanted to pay? I'm hear you, and you're right. But wouldn't you rather pay less for something now than more for the exact same home, possibly 4 to 6 months from now?
Yes, I would.
Right. And by the way, let's see, I also have things about interest rates. So by the way, and what about the interest rates? What about if the interest rates go from these historic low rates and they start to peak up a little bit? Won't that also make your next purchase a lot more expensive per month for the exact same house? And what happens if the prices go up in 4 to 6 months and the interest rates go up in 3 to 6 months? How much is that going to impact your monthly payment?
It'll change the neighborhoods I'm looking in.
Yeah, well, it could be. But here's what I'm asking you. Would you rather still be in this neighborhood, or do you want to set up a time for us to start looking in other neighborhoods that you really didn't want as much as this neighborhood? Because unfortunately, you may just have to pick. Is it curtain A or box B? And the reason why I'm telling you this is because as your real estate agent, I may not tell you necessarily everything that you want to hear. This is my key. But I wouldn't be responsible for you if I didn't tell you what you needed to hear. And sometimes tough love is necessary, but it's always love.
I think that's a great way to overcome that objection. Thanks for sharing that one. I know that wasn't in the planned dialogue, but I had to throw it out there because people are like, whoa, 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 what do you mean you're practicing that today? What is it?
All right. And on that one, just to let you know, which we won't talk about, I had a lot of different objections hit at me from the role play. And, you know, that call could be a 2-hour call just in itself. Because as I said, we've had a 1-hour role play on this, and we've done 4 already, if I'm not mistaken. We probably have to have 2 or 3 more. So by the time we finish that role-playing session with everybody there, we may be putting 5 to 7 hours into that one script. Oh, yeah.
So define for me the top 50. What is your top 50?
So top 50 is really simple. A lot of people get confused out of this, but it's actually pretty simple. Your top 50 people are this. If you called them, they pretty much drop anything that they're doing to pick up the phone and go, Verl, dude, how's it going? That's your top 50. If you call, they recognize you, they want to hear from you, they'd love to talk to you, even if they haven't talked to you in 3 freaking years. If they knew you were on the other phone with caller ID, they would be dying to take that call. That's your top 50. Now, it could be past clients.
50 people that like you enough to give you at least 1 referral a year. I love it.
Right. But those are the people that will pick up the call. So what we did is that we put together these 5 steps, because what happened is that when people were calling the top 50, or when I do top 50, they had to pull 3 or 4 or 5 different scripts and kind of put it together. And when did I do this? And I have the apology script, and when do the apology script? And then there's the 4th script. So what we did is we took all these different scripts and attempted to put them in the best order that we could, because it really takes about 3 or 4, sometimes 5 different scripts to do your top 50 personal sphere script correctly. Okay? And when you do that, you need to understand that asking someone in your personal sphere for a referral is not a short conversation or a direct laser focused question like you would do with just some sort of person, hey, you want to meet this weekend to go see some houses. The key is to make the call a natural, non-sales, personal conversation. And with that being said, there are 5 steps. There's the introduction, which is the reason for the call, and there's lots of those. There's the Ford technique. The Ford technique is really simple. The Ford technique is no more than just finding some sort of subject matter to talk to them about, whether it be family, occupation, recreation, their dreams, what they want to do in the future, whatever it may be. That's the Ford technique. Then you actually ask for the referral. And this is where most agents absolutely panic and faint. Then we have to teach people how to give a great referral. And then the last thing is you actually send them a thank you card and possibly maybe even like a $5 gift card for Dunkin' Donuts or something if they actually gave you information that was missing in your database. You don't send them that every time you talk to them. It's only if they gave you a lot of information that was missing in your database. It could be cell numbers, email addresses, birth dates, anniversaries, whatever you want to hold in your database. If they plugged in a lot of holes, you send them a thank you card and a little gift. Okay? And you need to be sincere. Okay? And if you've done correctly, your personal sphere will actually thank you for the entire call. They'll thank you for the call, even though you asked them for a referral. That is a successful top 50 sphere call.
I love that. What do you say to the agents that haven't actually ever called their database? I've got someone who's got 10,000 names in their database, and they don't even know how to create their top 50 out of it. How do you approach people that you've never called before?
Okay, listen, this is the easiest call, and I have to admit, it's hard to admit this, Verl, but I'm going to say it. I learned this one from you. Oh, God, it pained me. Just pained me. But it's the apology call. And the apology call is the best call you can do when it's said similar to this. Ready? Hey, Verl, this is Mark with the Mark Seiden team. I'm just calling today because, when we were selling your house in Utah that time when we closed, I really enjoyed getting to know you, and your wife and all your kids and your dog, Schmo. And you know what? I really value the time together and talking with you every day. And you know what? You all became more than just clients to me. After the closing, though, as sometimes it does, life got busy, and I felt badly we lost touch. So I was afraid to call. To be honest, I was really embarrassed. But you know what? Today, I decided that our relationship was too important, so I was just going to pick up the phone and call and apologize. Now, do you know why that is so powerful? What do you think most people on the other side of the phone say when you say, and you know what, I'm going to pick up the phone call and apologize for not calling sooner? What do you think the biggest response is on the other side?
Oh, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. Here's the other one you got. Ready? Here's the other one. Oh, yeah. No. It's me. I should have called. You're right. Oh, my God. I was thinking about you a year ago, and I didn't go. You'll get all this kind of stuff, and it brings all the tension. Gone. So once you get through that conversation, then you start talking, do the Ford technique. And the Ford technique is very key. Ready? You know what it says? Pause. Let them talk. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. And when you're doing the Ford technique, please observe the ratio. Okay? So you start talking about the Ford technique. I think we have a slide for the Ford technique. So we have a Ford technique. And the Ford technique, again, is really, really pretty basic. You want to talk about family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So just think about what you want to talk about. This is actually, okay. That's another problem. We may not have for the Ford technique, but that's okay. So we talk about the Ford technique. There's nothing really to show on the screen except all the Ford technique is just kind of hints of what to talk about. But all you want to do is talk about them. How's Dolores, your wife? How's Joe, their son? How's their dog? How's their grandpa? And here's what's going to happen. People will always start giving you information about what's going on in their life. And one of the things that Verl and I added to the Ford technique, because the Ford technique you'll see all over the internet, but one of the things that Verl and I added to the Ford technique are to search for things called triggers. Because triggers make it really simple for you to have a subject matter for the next call. Here's a trigger. Oh, so Mark, things are great, but just, I'm just getting ready because, in October, my son is September, my son started college, and in November is my wife's and I 25th wedding anniversary. Now, when I hear stuff like that, I just smile because that's just nothing but positive fodder. So now I have something for the next call. So the next call, which would be in October, I start saying, so how's your son, Joe, whatever it was, make sure you write it down. How's Joe's college? How was it, did he get into the dorm? How's his classes? Is he doing okay? And by the way, for your next month, I'm going to ask, what are you doing for your anniversary? And there'll be some conversation about the anniversary. Then in November, I got to ask about the anniversary again. So you're almost set up for your anniversary, or how was your anniversary? Either way. And then the month after that, I could probably even talk about the anniversary again. So I know that you went to blah, blah, blah for your 25th wedding anniversary. What was the name of that restaurant again? Because a friend of mine was asking me about, a restaurant, and you said it was so good, and you went there for your anniversary. I was wondering, can you give me the name of the restaurant? So for 3 months, October, November, December, I got one trigger. I got 3 conversations. So when you start talking about the Ford technique, you want to listen to what's going on in your life, because then when you call them in your next call, you're asking them about the information they gave last time. And look out also, and people are afraid of this, but don't be, negative triggers. What's a negative trigger? A negative trigger is, oh, you know what? My mom just went in the hospital. I think she's going to be okay, but boy, it was just a real scare. We just think it was her hip. That's a negative trigger, but it's still a trigger. So the following call, what do you think you ask? How's your mom? I know the last time that we spoke that she had broken her hip, and my fingers are crossed and my eyes are all cockeyed and I'm looking at the ceiling while I'm asking this question, but how's your mom? And hopefully they'll tell you something more positive.
That's right. There, you knew the Ford script was in here. It's just the follow-up slides. I love the apology script. How often would you call through your database, or how often would you call your top 50, and are they the same?
No, it's not the same. The top 50 is once a month, and that's why, again, you want to listen to these triggers, because if you listen to triggers, you always have something to talk about. So your top 50 is once a month, and what I mean by once a month does not exist by saying, oh, I called, I left a message. Check off, I did it for that month. Nay. There must be conversation. And unless you're like on your 10th, 11th, or maybe 12th conversation, texting does not count. I think half the people just hung up the phone. Texting does not count.
You got to talk to them, man.
What a concept.
Right.
And by the way, and these are some of the triggers we talked about, date-specific subjects to look for. These are the triggers. So we just wrote down a whole bunch of them. This is far from a complete list. Okay. So now that you've talked to them.
By the way, we're going to give this to all of you. So if you're trying to keep up with it all or write it down, don't worry about it. We're going to give you downloads where you'll have these scripts at the end of the webinar today. So hang on, I'll give you the landing page. You'll be able to get all this stuff.
Good. Awesome. So here's the kicker. So now when you've listened to them for 3, 4, 5 minutes, you now have to get them to segue to you. Now there'll be a lot of people that will say, so hey Verl, so how you doing? How you doing, bro? And there will be some people, we have some friends like this, that never ask us how we're doing. They'll just go on for 45 minutes about their life. Great, bad, doesn't make a difference. And they never ask us how we're doing. And you're going to have to segue in. But here's the kicker. Real estate agents, this is not a personal call. This is a business call. Shall I repeat? It's not a personal call. It's a business call. You're making it sound personal for them. It's a business call. That means when they ask you how you're doing, you don't go into your kids, your dog, your secretary, your birthday, your vacation. No, you start talking about real estate. Because if you go on with your personal, it'll take too long, and the referral part will go out the door. So you need to talk about real estate in a very fun and inviting and awesome way. So if it's your first call to your top 50, your first call, you start with, and it's in blue. Well, let me hold them a second. Well, there's a few things you can do. You start with number 1 or number 2, and there's a whole bunch of these. I just joined a new real estate office, and it's really exciting. Then you go to the answer, and go to the ending. So I just joined a new real estate office, and it's really exciting. And as you may or may not know, a lot of real estate agents' business comes from personal referrals. Hey, just out of curiosity, do you have anyone that you refer real estate to? That's a key question. You can't skip that question. And here's what Verl and I say when you're doing these kind of tight scripts. You ready? It's Shakespeare. Don't change Shakespeare. Don't modify it. Don't change it. Don't tweak it. It's Shakespeare. If you try to change Shakespeare, it ain't Shakespeare.
That's so funny. My daughter's in the drama team in high school, and she was reading Shakespeare last night to us as she's memorizing a tryout for a play. And as I'm listening to it, I'm like, wow, you can't change that. I mean, the way it's written is so eloquent and also so bizarre, but it gets the desired effect at the end of the sonnet or the end of the play.
So you have to say, and this is for your first call, just out of curiosity, do you have anyone that you refer real estate to? Now you're going to get 1 or 2 answers. Okay. If they say no, meaning they say no to you, or they have someone else, or well, whatever like that, for your top 50, you don't attempt to convince them to use you. That's not what top 50 is. Your top 50 is, it's you only, there's nobody else that would you, it's you. That's your top 50. So then you'll downgrade it.
Someone who's committed to send you referrals. It's someone who's committed to send you a referral if real estate comes up. I just need you to throw my name out.
Right. Now, if you do ask that question, you have anybody to refer real estate to, and they respond with B, and they'll say, no, I don't have anybody, or God, I never really thought about it. Of course, Verl, it would be you. Who else would it be? Then you say this, will you please send all your referrals to me? Again, the other half of the phone call people just dropped out because it's a question that people don't like to ask. And then when they say yes, this is the major kicker here. Teach how to give a great referral. Because I'm going to ask everybody that I know I can't see any responses, but I'm going to ask everyone this question. If people say, yeah, Verl, I give your name out all the time. Oh, yeah, I tell Verl how great you are, all that stuff. How many of those calls do you actually get from people? Is the percentage between extremely slim and none? So this is why we came up with this. Not all referrals are created or equal, or what is a great referral. So Verl, thank you for saying that you would send me referrals. That's so great, because you have no idea how much of our business comes from referrals. But okay, let me help you with what makes a great referral. Unfortunately, people just giving out my name and my business card rarely gets me a call. I mean, it really is a nice gesture, but I just don't hear from the person you gave my name to very often. I actually receive and sell the most number of referrals when I receive the name and cell number of the referral directly from you. So I am able to call the prospective buyer or seller directly. So please just get me their names and cell numbers, and also permission for me to call them directly. You don't have to attempt to convince your referral to absolutely use me. Just convince them to speak to me and to provide you their names and cell numbers. That's all I need. I'll take it from there. It should really be much easier for you to get their information if you are not attempting to convince them to make that snap decision right then and there to use me. I just need the opportunity to speak to them. Wait, go back.
Love it. I'll go back, sorry.
Yep, go back. Will you please commit? And then you actually want them to commit. Will you please commit to getting me just one of these types of referrals this year? I'd so appreciate it. Get them to commit and even repeat it. I have it down in the bottom. And will you please commit to sending me just one this year? You can send me 5 or 6. I won't complain. But how about just committing to at least one?
This year?
In a year, 365 days. Not to the end of this year, a year.
Love it.
One. Just one.
Everybody knows someone who's getting ready to buy or sell a house.
Yep.
And this process of identifying your top 50 is so huge.
And it takes the pressure off your top 50 if they don't have to convince someone to use you. That's the worst part of referral, that people try too hard to get that person to use you, and the person just feels beaten up and they don't want to, just because they felt beat up. So if they just make sure that they accept a call from you, the referral numbers go way up. And as I said, which I said at the beginning, if anybody gave you more of their database, because we kind of skipped one little section, which was after the Ford technique, or when you're in them Ford technique, kind of asking how they're doing and everything, you actually ask them for any missing database. Hey, Joyce, I just noticed that I'm missing Ben's, cell number. Can you get me Ben's cell number? Did your email address change? Because you have an AOL email address. Did you upgrade that? So if you got any of that updated data while you're doing the Ford technique, then send them a thank you card and like a little $5 gift card. Now, I will tell you, after the apology call, after the first call, the apology call, we always send out a thank you card. Not necessarily with a gift card, but I always send a thank you card after the first call, which is the apology call, if you haven't spoken to them in a while. Because people rarely get mail. That's it.
I love it. Hey, Mark, a couple things. As a team leader, it's clear to me that you do a good job of getting your team members to come in and practice their scripts and dialogues and role play. As a coach, how important is it that your teams role play?
Oh, I bash them all the time. I mean, we discuss it all the time. Yeah, and actually, to be honest,
agent, how do you role play?
What's that?
What if you're just an individual agent? How do you role play?
You got to find some people. You got to find some peeps. And by the way, if you can't find other real estate agents, you know who role play with everybody? Spouses, friends, grandparents, kids, whatever like that. People really get into it because they don't do it every day. So you could just get a partner. You could get a boyfriend, girlfriend. It doesn't make a difference. Hey, will you role play with me? Just pretend you're a buyer and whatever. They love that stuff. And you'll hear stuff come out of their mouth that you'll look at them like, I don't know. I never thought of that.
It's so true. It's fun. We have our client care coordinator will role play with our buyer's agents. The buyer's agents will role play with the team leader, and it matters that you practice, because practice gives you the ability to listen to understand instead of listening to respond, and then you can give intelligent responses that move the transaction forward. I don't know how many of you are thinking you'd like to have a guy like Mark Seiden as your coach. At Workman Success Systems, we have a lot of great coaches. And if you're interested in growing your team or doing something different, having to make a difference, and you're really to start putting great processes and systems in your business to help you grow, then when you download the dialogue, look for an opportunity to sign up for a free business consult, and we'll sit down with you. We'll look at your business and see if there's a fit. What everybody's going to get, Mark, as a result of being here is they're going to get the attorney script, they're going to get the surgeon script, they're going to get the 5 steps for asking referrals, and everybody that downloads the notes, I'm going to give a special bonus, and I'm going to give them the ebook called 8651, and it's how to close 86 transactions a year, working with 50 people, only 1 hour a day. And so as a special bonus for being here, I want to say, Mark, we've answered most of the questions that they've come in today. What a great webinar. Man, an hour went so fast. You and I could do this for hours. And yep. I don't think I'd ever get tired of listening to you practice your scripts and dialogues. Thank you so much for being here. From all of us at Workman Success Systems, on behalf of Mark Seiden and his great team, have a phenomenal rest of 2017. It's going to be a good year because we're going to be better at our craft.
Thank you, Verl. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.